So they would be hit pretty hard as well, and possibly harder. But at least Norway is like a petro state, so they kind of deserve it. Sorry.
I was going to say the same thing. And I wasn't going to say sorry, Amok. I'm sorry, like, Hank. Green, calling you Amok. I was going to say the same thing, and I was not going to apologize, bro. Finally. I pray every day for some bad news for Norway, because they're just fucking mogging the world. Thank you, dude. Thank you.
I shouldn't say that, but you are. You got to admit, Norway. Everybody's like, Norway's so amazing, but like, they got a lot of oil. They're just pumping out and putting in their sovereign wealth fund. Ireland didn't get that. They just have peat, which is not as...
Well, Ireland has something. It's called fucking corporate tax haven status. Okay? So that when Apple makes $80 billion in profit, it's really Apple Ireland. Who is just loaning the trademark of Apple to its American counterpart for some reason. Apparently, all the intellectual talent of Apple is taking place in a small office in Ireland. And that's why they have to pay all the money to them. How lucky for them. I guess Ireland's just a really fucking brilliant place. That's where all the knowledge comes from.
As useful. And also, they already harvested most of it, which they really shouldn't have done. But that's a different video. There's reasons why. One of the things from going to Ireland, I realized, is everything's complicated. But anyway, if the AMOC shuts down, which is a big if, climate change will have caused a surprise cold blob for Northern Europe. So warming climate, but Europe very cold. You've seen Day After Tomorrow. It's like that, except it wouldn't happen like the day after tomorrow, but it would happen very fast. It would happen on the order of like years, not even decades, like maybe a couple of decades. And this system has shut down before. Around 13,000 years ago, the AMOC abruptly shut down, plunging the North Atlantic into a 1,000-year deep freeze called the Younger Dryas. Temperatures in Europe dropped by up to 10 degrees Celsius, which for us Americans is 18 degrees Fahrenheit. On average. That means a place that's usually 45 degrees hanging out way above freezing is now way below freezing. I'm talking
deep freeze on my fucking wrist. Maybe shit's icy. Bars. Freezer shirts for free doesn't sound that bad. Yeah, I don't know. You wear a bigger coat.
Fahrenheit here. And here's the thing. The AMOC might be shutting down. It also might not be. And this is why I am paying so much attention to it. So there was a 2025 study, very recent study from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution that found no evidence that the AMOC has been weakening over the last 60 years. They were looking at air-sea heat fluxes instead of just surface temperatures, and they say that the AMOC appears more stable than we thought, whereas other recent studies suggest that the AMOC is already weakening, maybe approaching a tipping point, and this is a real tipping point. The AMOC can slow, and that can be linear at first. It could be like, you know, it gets a little bit warmer and a little bit more fresh water and it slows down and it slows down, but eventually it actually shuts off. And that means that it goes from like slowing to nothing quite quickly. One 2021 paper found early warning signs of this critical transition. Another in 2023 suggested the shutdown could occur this century, possibly as early as 2050. That would be very bad. For Ireland, that...
Dude. Hank Green, are you trying to get me to care about a problem in 2050? A problem for Europeans in 2050? I don't have that many fucks to give. I mean, you're right. You're so right, bro. There's more pressing issues. I gotta care about the fate of a European Gen Beta in their 40s. This is why people aren't investing in AMC. What are you talking about? All meme stocks are up, dude. Meme stock mania is back. There's new ones. People are like, oh, I'm much smarter now. I don't do GameStop and AMC. I do Krispy Kreme and GoPro. Fucking stupid. They're so back. It's all back. Are those really hot now? I guess I'm interrupting this video, but Krispy Kreme stock. Krispy Kreme stock jumped fucking 70% on no news. Like literally no news. Like no, there wasn't like a sales boost. Just out of the blue, Krispy Kreme stock jumped 70%. Because it's a meme, dude. Because it's hitting social media. Oh, the stock market's most unserious season is back and dorkier than before. Yeah, so fucking true. 10 hour from Krispy Kreme to GoPro as meme stock trading frenzy returned. Yeah, it's back. Meme stocks are back, bro. Had a cheat day, my bad. Soji in chat ate so many Krispy Kremes, the stock fucking mooned. We're back.
It means colder, drier summers, stormier in the winter. They and the UK could lose like 5 to 10 degrees Celsius in average temperature. Agriculture on the coast, infrastructure, water systems that developed under a temperate regime would be hit very hard. You have a bunch of people who have never had to worry about their pipes freezing. Suddenly, their pipes are freezing all the time. And there's huge effects outside of that region as well. You know, rainfall in the tropics would be disrupted. Sea levels along the American East Coast would rise, probably significantly, because the AMOC currently helps keep them.
I'm getting this gloomy, sinking feeling that climate change is bad. That it might have bad weather effects and geopolitical effects. This sounds like I'm being
Lower.
psyoped.
And coral reefs in the tropics, already under stress from bleaching and acidification, would have those problems probably get worse. Heat trapped in the tropics doesn't just make the air warmer, it raises the ocean temperature, and many corals are living just a degree or two below their thermal limit. So even a small shift in ocean heat distribution could push entire reef systems to the brink, especially if they're...
It's called climate change, not climate bad. Don't worry, sweetie. Okay. It's called climate change. Change is good. Therefore, it's a good. Right? Change equals good, so it's climate good.
being disturbed by other things like agricultural or urban runoff or overfishing, killing not just the coral, but the ecosystems and the economies they support. Basically, a lot of modern life is built on this ocean current.
Being like an oil industry executive who rebrands yourself as a climate progressive because you want it to change. Rebranding the whole movement as like climate progressivism. Like, wow, you want climate to stay the same? Fucking old and tired. Some of us want us to move forward.
Being stable. That affects
We've had the same climate. You want the same climate as back in the 50s when we had racism? Yikes. Fucking yikes. Ugh.
The whole world. It affects people in the northern region of the Atlantic Basin the most, and people in Northern Europe, which includes Ireland, the most of all of those people. It is an actual example of a significant tipping point that would have a really severe and significant impact on the people living in the area affected. And because of that, even though
All right, we have 3 minutes left, Hank Green. I need you to tell me why I don't have to do anything when there's no problem. Okay? Every good climate change video needs to end with if we don't change this by 2060 so that we can all agree that it's someone else's problem and it'll be fine. Okay? You have 3 minutes left, so.
I'm not particularly exposed to the Atlantic Basin, I think about the AMOC all the time. Very recently, on June 20th, there was another study with a different result than the Woods Hole study that showed the last century of declines of the AMOC. They talk about this little cold blob that has started to form over the last 100 years off the coast of Ireland. And that blob has been confusing scientists for a long time. It's just this patch of cold water in the Atlantic that refuses to warm up, even as the rest of the Atlantic heats. But now it looks like they have identified the AMOC as the culprit, which has been, a leading theory for a while. They looked at nearly 100 completed climate models with a century of temperature and salinity records, and only the models that showed a weakened AMOC matched what we're...
This video's kind of... I'm going to out-woke this woke video. Oh, okay, get ready. Get ready. I'm going to out-woke it. I'm going to out-woke this video. This video is a little Eurocentric. I don't know if you guys noticed. Why is Hank Green focusing so much on the problems of Ireland getting a little colder when, in fact, South America is going to get floods and become way warmer? He's seemingly ignoring the larger problem to the global south to focus on his heritage in Ireland. Interesting. Just so interesting. Do we cancel Hank Green for this? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes.
Seeing in the real world with colder, fresher water in the subpolar North Atlantic. And if the AMOC really has been weakening for over a century,
Blue
that means
Sky,
the
Hank.
fuse was lit before we even knew there was a bomb. But for clarity, we are very far away from the scientific consensus here. We know that it can happen because it did happen right before the Younger Dryas. It set off the Younger Dryas. That was a bad period for people in Northern Europe. This is not a video about this, but there is a theory that some of the first civilizational work was set off by the Younger Dryas. So this was in Turkey. So Northern Europe basically was completely abandoned. People there either died or they migrated out. And other places where there was a shock, but it was still livable, there maybe it set off sort of a period of greater cooperation and sort of cultural building.
It'll all be good.
But, I mean, let's hope.
It'll all be good.
Hope. Point is, different studies are showing different potential futures for the AMOC. We have powerful tools and techniques that are far more powerful than what we had even 50 years ago, but we need more tools. We need more data. We can't fast forward the Earth to see what happens and then go back and adjust based on that. We have to try and do the work to predict the future, which is hard but not impossible. How likely an AMOC shutdown is has huge implications on the costs of climate change and how we will deal with it. And the fact that my federal government is spending less money on studying the Earth, and especially less money on studying climate change, is very worrying to me, because fewer tools is not going to get us where we need to go. So yeah, I thought, okay, in the US, maybe we don't think about the AMOC much because it's just one more thing. At least when I go to Ireland, people will have heard about it. It's right on their front door, but indeed not. So this video is for the Irish and the Norwegians and also the people anywhere in Europe. It's not just going to be the coastal areas affected
nobody's
if the
talking
AMOC
about
shuts
the
down.
AMOC
And of
in
course,
regular
also
life
everybody else
anywhere.
who's watching this, I'm very glad that you now know more about the AMOC. I really hope that we keep it chugging along for another 12,000 years. As Greenland continues to melt, this seems less and less likely, but let's hope that it's like Woods Hole study stable and not UC Riverside stable, but we just don't know, and we need to figure this out. And for clarity, there probably are going to be people who are mad at me for saying that we don't know, because they feel like we do know one way or the other, but that's the thing. People who are really well educated on this and study it professionally disagree with each other. And the next time you see a news story about the AMOC, I hope you'll click on it, because it's one of the bigger stories of the 21st century, and I really hope it turns out okay.
I'll just skim the headline, and then I will make a bold claim about it on social media. Thanks, Hank. Thank you, Hank. That was actually a good video. Interesting. I'll ask Grok if this is true. How China is quietly bracing for conflict with India? That sounds interesting. That sounds very interesting. 3 days ago, 1 million views, 900K views. Dude, I gotta tell you something. Taiwan, I mean, China's bracing for conflict with Taiwan. Taiwan, we covered this on the channel, but it was a while ago, so maybe you don't know. Taiwan's ruling party is the Green DPP party, which is the most anti-China party. They're the ones that are like, hey, Beijing's a real problem. Taiwan wants to be independent, yada, yada, yada. So they just held a big recall to get rid of the pro-China lawmakers, the ones within China that are trying to be, well, maybe we should just become friends with China or become part of China. Who knows? And they had a recall vote and they lost the vote. So nobody got recalled. So I don't know what's like Taiwan is Taiwan itself is fighting itself, bro. I don't that just happened. It was like today. Do you think if USA doesn't defend Taiwan, it will send a message to our other allies and possibly break NATO? Dude, if China invades Taiwan, the geopolitical consequences are going to be massive in so many ways. It's not just defending it. Defending it could be World War III. Do you know what I'm saying? Not defending it could send signals. That's the big thing of our next 15 years, right? 10 years, maybe less. I don't know. One thing I was thinking about today is, we talk about how old Biden was or how old Trump is, but the entire world has old leadership right now. Almost the entire world. Everyone's going to have counterexamples, but Iran's leadership's in their 80s. China's leadership's in their 70s. Russia's leadership in their 70s. America's in their late 70s. There's so many big geopolitical actors have old leadership, and they're all old, and they're all trying to do like legacy stuff at the moment out the door. And it's hard to care about the future or care about things other than like making your legacy when you're that old. And if you're like 50 and you do something stupid, well then the reputation will follow you for the rest of your life. But if you're like 80 and do something stupid, you're dead. Who cares? It's it's just crazy how this gerontocracy ruled by the old is in so many countries. Let's watch this video. How China's quietly bracing for conflict with India.
Spending more than $40 billion on this railway through the Himalayas. Once complete, it will connect Chengdu, a major city in southwestern China, to Lhasa, the capital of the Tibet Autonomous Region, lowering the travel time from 34 hours to 13 hours.
Yawn.
This is just one part of a massive
China builds another train. Yawn. We get it.
Construction spree along China's roughly 2,000-mile land border with India. Both countries have disputed the exact border for decades, but the dynamic has shifted drastically over the last several years, as China has invested in extensive roads, heliports and airports, and it's building or expanding hundreds of border villages. China has generally argued the build-up is focused on economic development, but the potential military applications of this infrastructure has some Indian officials concerned. And experts say China's extreme efforts to dominate the region are creating an increasingly flammable situation between two major world powers.
Interesting.
The Chinese military's Western Theater Command is massive, about 2.6 million square miles, more than 80% of the area of the contiguous.
Have they considered building a wall? Maybe a great one. Historically, I think that's been rather successful. I don't know if that could...
United States. Much of this region has long been remote, inaccessible, and poor.
This is very punishing terrain we're talking about.
Since the 90s, China has built thousands of miles of roads through Tibet, especially in recent years. Many of these go parallel to or extremely close to the border, which has made these areas much more accessible. Because many of these roads could also be used for military purposes, what experts call dual use.
This land looks very cheap. Do you guys think we should all just move to southern China / northern India and we could get a fucking commune going? Looks like just rocks. Yeah, but we'd probably get subsidies from the Chinese government to build out there, as long as we put up Chinese flags.
Also controversial. In 2020, for instance, India's construction of a road near the border was cited as a contributing factor to a deadly clash between Chinese and Indian troops in Ladakh. India has continued building some roads by the border, including some impressive projects, like a tunnel across the Sila Pass, and a more than 1,000-mile Arunachal frontier highway is currently in progress.
Jesus.
But India's border roads are more limited overall, and most of its projects are smaller. In addition to roads, China has also invested heavily in trains along the corridor.
The primary purpose of these high-speed railway lines is connectivity. But the fact of the matter is, once you have a high-speed rail, it takes only an order to make sure that instead of tourists, you have soldiers being transported on those railway lines.
Yeah,
and that's where the challenge comes.
The concern is that this infrastructure network could enable a small dispute in a remote territory to quickly spiral into a large conflict.
China's ability to mobilize its forces on the Indian border has changed dramatically over time. In the late 90s, early 2000s, people were talking about a month that Chinese forces would need to mobilize
Yeah, you can do it
and
faster.
then actually go for war with India. Now we hear about a time period of 5 to 7 days.
In 2006, China completed the first
Interesting.
major train line in Tibet, the Qinghai-Tibet Railroad. The government spent more than $4 billion to connect the western Chinese city.
Do you ever get major FOMO from this? What, from the conflict or from the trains? I hope you're saying the trains. Hopefully you're not getting FOMO because we don't have a giant border dispute with India. We have enough conflict of our own, all right? I don't think America is getting FOMO.
Of Xining to Lhasa. Now it's working on something even more ambitious, the Sichuan-Tibet Railway, which would speed up the journey through the Himalayas, directly connecting the headquarters of the PLA's Western Theatre Command to the capital of the Tibet Autonomous Region. For
I
China,
wish Mexico was a rising superpower that we had extreme tension with. Sag. God, if only, dude. If only. I mean, that would actually be cool. What if that's what gets us trains throughout the Southwest? What if we had a border dispute with Mexico, so we built trains all throughout the Southwest so that we could mobilize troops to the front, dude? That'd be awesome.
this
It's a
is
win-win.
important to make Tibet more accessible. For India, though, it means easier Chinese access to the disputed border. India has plans to increase trains on its side of the
Sick
border,
bridge.
but its overall system is much more
Sick
limited.
As far as the
bridge.
railway lines are concerned, Indian infrastructure is non-existent.
Another area of Indian concern is China's increasing air power along the corridor.
India has a much larger numerical air force advantage against China. Firstly, it has a lot more air bases,
know that.
and they are also located a lot closer to the front line than the Chinese ones are. But another element of this is that China has the most missile-centric concept of warfare anywhere in the world.
China is estimated to have more than 600 nuclear warheads, many of
Jesus.
which could reach India. India is estimated to have only 180 nuclear warheads.
This scene is in every video about war, nuclear war. And it's like, who fucking cares? Only 118? Only a billion people dead? Who cares? What? Oh, I have 150, but you only have 90. It's fucking ridiculous. This is enough nuclear warheads to end life on Earth. The way people talk about nuclear war is so funny. It's like, this could be 5 and 5, and it would be enough to, like, nothing should happen.
While both countries have sophisticated aircraft in their arsenal, this is another area where China has made significant strides.
It is
Me hugging my single warhead. It's okay, buddy. It's okay, champ. Fucking stupid comment.
an interesting time to actually look at air power and the air picture along China-India border, particularly given India-Pakistan conflict, in which the Pakistan side used China-manufactured aircraft in actual combat. It's definitely quite a sobering moment, I think, for the Indian military.
Another significant part of China's border development effort has been moving citizens closer to the Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh. China
If China moves all its cities right to the border, if you try to nuke them, you'll pretty much be nuking yourself. That's nine-head play. If they move, everybody in China stands right on the border. It's like nearly impossible to nuke.
claims this is actually part of its own territory. Between 2018 and 2023, China's registered population in border areas increased by 10.5%, according to government work reports.
Dude, that's what Canada should do. Wait. If you're Canada and you don't have nuclear weapons, right? So you can't fight a nuclear war with the United States if Trump's being crazy. So what do? All you have to do is build a giant fan like right here and right here and right here, and it aims south. So if there's any nukes in Canada, the radioactive fallout is just blowing straight down to America. The wind already does that. Well, the wind needs a little bit of help of its own, okay? Sometimes you can't rely on nature to do the thing. Trump gets lucky, dude. I wouldn't put it past Trump to nuke fucking Toronto and then a gigantic gust of wind, a generational gust of wind blows north for a generation. And he, and he just tweeting, yeah, plan the whole thing. Okay? He gets lucky. You want the fan. You're going to want the fan. Toronto would have housing prices. Toronto could get nuked and housing prices would go up. I promise you that. A nuclear weapon could hit Toronto and the fucking studio apartment there they'd double the rent. Scarcer supply, yeah.
India has started a similar initiative, what it's calling the Vibrant Villages program, but it's not as advanced. Some China watchers worry border villages could be used by China as military staging posts in a potential conflict. Or at the very least, they're a way for China to strengthen its claim to the land where they sit.
To some degree, the Chinese government's calculation is really about creating political bargaining chips and facts on the ground, potentially for political negotiations.
China uses so-called active defense on many of its borders. It's also known for pressing neighbors into difficult positions by using what experts refer to as salami slicing tactics.
We talked about this.
Where it gets away with major power grabs by cutting them into many incremental moves that are too small to meet much resistance. While China and India have made some steps recently to improve their relationship over the border, experts say the situation remains tense.